G'day everybody, me again. Got another project on the go. This one's a bit bigger than usual. We will see more of it as I go, but I thought I'd show you guys the aftermath of what a steering wheel attendant can do to an engine. Now in this world there are two kinds of drivers. There's the ones that care about their equipment and the ones that don't. And generally they fall into the category of knowing what they're doing and not. And the ones that don't know what they're doing and don't care about their equipment I call steering wheel attendants. And a steering wheel attendant made some serious damage to this engine. We have not one, not two, 3 holes in the block. That push rod is so bent it's never coming out. Obviously the rust damage is from being in the weather. Nice size valve springs. Collets have let go. Completely let go. Push rods are just gone. In fact, I tried to start this engine when it was still in the truck and one of the push rods and a couple of bearing shells fell out the bottom after the fact, so I think it was pretty well destroyed. It's destroyed the rocker cover and collets let go. Valve's just floating. Piston's probably smashed a bit. It's a Volvo TD122FR. I believe they are 400 horsepower. At a very lazy 1800 RPM. Fair size turbo on it. It's a shame that this turbo is condemned now due to being in the weather and you know, may have had engine parts go through it. So I'm not going to put that on the other motor, but I may turn it into a turbo turbine one day. It's a project I've been wanting to do for a long time but never got around to. It's an SR 1700 synchro gearbox. They're quite a funny thing. But yeah, the goal is I got this replacement. And this replacement is another story that I'll have to tell one day. Probably before I fit it. We paid good money for this and it arrived in fairly sad condition really. But that's a story for another day. But that's the replacement. And goal for today is to get the gearbox off. Remove this clutch housing. It's kind of like the front half of the bell housing. Remove the clutch, inspect it, see if I need to buy another one. Lift this out of its cage. Clean up that mating surface in the back there, clean up the crank. Install the clutch housing, rear main, clutch, all that stuff. Pilot bearing if it's got one, it doesn't look like it does though. And continue from there. I am used to working on stuff that's a lot smaller, but it's all the same, it's just nuts and bolts. Some people go, oh, you can't work on a truck, you're fucking not qualified. Yeah, like fuck, it's my truck, I'll do what the fuck I want. Yeah, it's a shame I can't really get underneath and show you the crank, but the crank is absolutely destroyed as well, of course. There's can't get down there. Bits of conrod still attached to the crank, but it's fucked. And the block is just, you know, holy. It's a very religious piece of equipment right now. Now also apparently an insurance company decided that it was an accident that caused this. And yeah, it was an accident with the driver being a dickhead. So they had a mechanic pull it apart to inspect what happened. Now, I may not be the smartest man, but I think I know what happened. Well, I actually 100% know what happened. He over-revved it. He was coming down the hill at Gidgegannup and somehow managed to select low range, and then took his foot off the clutch, and it over-revved the engine, and here we are. But the insurance company decided that they wanted to do an investigation to see if it could be repaired. And something tells me that that's not being repaired. You need a lot of JB Weld for that one, and a new crank. And new pistons, and new rods, new valves, possibly cylinder heads where they've been dinged by valve pieces. Fucking lovely.